Some nights don't feel like they belong to you. They don't feel lived in, just borrowed. You move through them like a guest in your own life. The lights hum the way they always do. The air smells faintly of detergent and closed windows. Everything looks familiar, but not one thing feels yours. That's what the week felt like. Not scary, not strange, just slightly misaligned. My sleep had been off. My appetite was weird. Little things went missing. Receipts, socks, a photo I swore was in the kitchen drawer. My voice kept echoing in ways that didn't make sense. Not out loud, in memory. Like I had already said something I hadn't even thought yet. It wasn't enough to panic over, just enough to make me start keeping the TV on when I cooked, or to leave the hallway light on even when I didn't need it. But Thursday night was worse, too still. Even with the fan on and a movie playing in the background, the quiet felt thick, like the apartment was listening, like the walls had pressed in, not physically, but emotionally. So I grabbed my phone, opened my podcast app, and started scrolling. I didn't know what I was looking for. Something low, something forgettable, something that wouldn't try too hard to entertain me. That's when I saw it. No title, no description. Just a gray thumbnail, static, like an old TV screen, and a date, April 7th. The upload time was exactly 3 a.m. I don't know why that detail stuck out. It just did. I hit play. It didn't start with music or ads. It just began. A man's voice, calm, not warm, not cold, just steady, like someone telling a story while barely remembering it. He said, "I didn't mean to find the place. It was just there. And once I noticed it, it started noticing me." I paused it. That sentence felt like it belonged to something I'd forgotten. Not déjà vu, something deeper, like a memory that had waited too long to be noticed. I stared at the screen. No runtime bar, no share button, no option to subscribe, just the voice and the date. I played it again. I didn't mean to find the place. It was just there. And once I noticed it, it started noticing me. Then silence. 10 seconds, maybe more. And then, faint footsteps, far away, like they were on an upper floor of a building I wasn't in. Followed by a breath. Not mine, not the narrator's. Somewhere in between, he continued. The lights in my hallway used to flicker. Now they don't. Now they just stay off. Another pause. Another breath. I leaned back against the couch and listened. It was like a dream retold from too far away. The story didn't build. It unraveled. He spoke of a door that didn't belong in his building, of whispers that came from inside his fridge, of a voicemail he never left playing from an old cassette. And with each word, I felt my skin tighten, not from fear, but from recognition. He described the light above his stove, humming louder than usual. Mine had done that on Tuesday. He said his upstairs neighbor hadn't moved in yet, but he still heard her walking. I'd heard something like that, just last night. And I don't even have an upstairs neighbor. I sat up, the voice lowered, like it had turned its face closer to the mic, like it knew I'd just moved. Then he said, "Sometimes I wonder if I'm just hearing the recording of my own life, but a few days behind, or a few feet away." That line stopped me, because I had written something like that in a journal months ago, almost the same phrasing. I even pulled the notebook from under the coffee table to check. It was there. I think I hear myself, but sideways. like it's happening in a different hallway. I didn't remember writing it. I didn't remember what it meant. But the podcast kept playing. Sometimes I don't remember which part of the story I'm in, the man said. And I think that's how it wants it. The audio glitched, not sharply, just a soft hiccup, like a digital breath. And then, my name, clear, not shouted, not whispered, just stated, like a label, like a conclusion. I paused it immediately. I sat frozen, staring at the wall across from me. There's no way. No one had said my name aloud in hours. I hadn't received a text, a call, nothing. I rewound. 30 seconds. Nothing. No name. I played the whole minute again. Still nothing. I stood up, paced, checked my notifications. All silent. No active calls. No live recordings. I turned off the lights in the living room and walked to the kitchen. Took a glass from the cabinet. It felt wet. Not on the inside, but the outside. Condensation. Like someone had just rinsed it and put it back. But I live alone, and I hadn't touched that cabinet all week. In the background, the podcast continued. Only now, the voice wasn't telling a story. It was describing objects. My keys are on the counter, it said. There are 3. 1 for the front door, 1 for the mailbox, 1 I don't remember. I looked at my counter. 3 keys, exactly like that. The next line came slowly, heavy, almost thoughtful. The 3rd key opens something I haven't found yet, but I know I've already locked it. That's when the audio dropped out completely. No click, no fade, just absence. The episode was still marked as playing, but there was nothing left. Just the low hum of my fridge. And then, a final sound. A faint knock. Not from my speakers, from inside the apartment, behind me. It wasn't loud. It didn't come again. But when I turned, the front door was already unlocked. The front door was already unlocked. I don't know how long I stared at it. I didn't move, didn't breathe loud, didn't blink. Just watched the latch sit there, open, innocent, like it had always been that way. I live alone. I always lock the door. Eventually, I walked to it, checked the deadbolt, still firm, still engaged. It was just the latch that had slipped, still. That meant someone would have had to open it, and gently. No scuffs, no drag marks, no slam. I told myself I forgot. Told myself I must have left it ajar, even though I know I didn't. Even though the knob had been warm. I turned the bolt twice, then went back to the kitchen. And that's when the glass slipped, not fell, slipped, from the edge of the counter. It was the one I'd held earlier, the wet one. But I hadn't set it on the edge. It hit the tile. Didn't shatter, just cracked. Red wine pooled across the floor, slow, quiet, like it was thinking. I didn't remember pouring any, didn't even remember opening a bottle. But the cork was on the counter. The bottle was half empty, and my fingerprints were on the neck. 9:13 p.m. I checked the time 3 times. I told myself I was tired, that I must have poured a glass and forgotten. But when I grabbed paper towels to clean the mess, my phone buzzed. New episode, no title, no cover, just another gray thumbnail, same as the last one, uploaded 9:13 p.m. Exactly. I stared at the screen, felt the cold edge of the paper towel roll in my palm. Then I hit play. Silence, not static, not white noise, just absence. Then the voice came. Same man, still calm, still too steady, like someone had pressed his tone through gauze. He said, "The glass slid without a push. The floor drank red like it missed it. I stopped breathing. The words weren't just close, they were precise. He continued, I didn't remember pouring the wine, but the bottle had my fingerprints. I paused it. My hand was shaking. I looked at the spill again. It hadn't spread. It sat there, thick and still, not soaking into the towel, not evaporating. I played the episode again, backed it up, same lines, same rhythm, but something changed. The voice was slower now. He said, I think someone's copying my evenings, rearranging them like puzzle pieces, putting my cause after the effect. I touched my face. My cheek felt hot. He kept going. He described walking to the sink, described the towel roll sliding from his hand. Mine did. Right then, just slipped. No tilt, no breeze. It fell into the puddle, absorbed nothing. He said, I keep trying to clean it up, but the mess isn't in the wine. I froze. He continued, it's in the recording. I checked the episode length again, still no bar, no timestamp, no end. He whispered now, if this uploads at 9:13 p.m., then you already spilled it, even if you haven't yet. I stopped the playback, locked my phone. Everything in the room felt mirrored, like each object had turned a fraction to the left, like the shadows had shifted mid-sentence. I sat on the floor, wine smell in my nose, silence crawling up my neck. Then my phone buzzed again. Not a message, just a vibration. I unlocked it. No notifications, just the app. Open again. The same episode, still playing, though I'd stopped it. New line, not a voice, a knock, through the speaker, identical to the one from last night, the one from behind me. It repeated, software slow, 3 times. Then, the doors unlocked again. I looked at it. It wasn't. I had locked it twice. But as I stared, I saw the latch, tilt, click open, my chest folded inward, like my breath had reversed. I got up, not quickly. I walked toward the door, kept my eyes level. No sound from outside, no shadows under the crack. I held the knob. Then the voice came back. Only this time, it said, "You're not supposed to check this time." The screen flickered, brightness dropped, audio cut. Then softly, a woman's voice, new, breathy, like mine, but recorded on something older. It whispered, "Don't forget what you spilled. You'll need it later." Then the episode ended. The screen went black. I stood there for a long time, listening to nothing. The latch still hung open. I closed it, sat back on the floor. No desire to clean the wine, no desire to rewind the episode, because if I listened again, I had a feeling it would change, describe something I hadn't done yet, and I was starting to think, maybe that's how it worked, that it didn't predict anything, it rearranged it. I left my phone on the counter, backed away like it was warm, checked the fridge, the windows, the cabinets. Didn't know what I was checking for, just movement, echoes, anything. Then I heard a click. I turned. The phone screen had lit up. No one touched it, no alerts, just open again. Another episode waiting. Uploaded, early. It was dated tomorrow, and somehow I'd already listened to half. The episode was dated tomorrow, and somehow I'd already listened to half. I don't remember pressing play. I don't remember stopping either. But when I picked up the phone, the playback bar hovered just past the midpoint, like I'd paused it somewhere between breaths. Not music, no narration intro, just a low hum. Then came the voice. Not his, mine. It wasn't just similar, it was identical. Same pitch, same cadence, even the same hesitation I get when I talk to myself in the mirror. I didn't say anything at first, just breathing. Then, calmly, like I was remembering something I hadn't lived, I think the silence is the loudest part. I froze. That's something I'd written in an old email draft to myself last year. Never sent, never said aloud. The voice continued. When you live alone long enough, you stop expecting sounds to come from anywhere else. So when they do, even the small ones feel massive. The laugh that followed was soft, involuntary, exactly how I laugh when I'm not sure I should. And I heard it in stereo, from the phone, and from my own mouth, not simultaneous, but echoing, like I was copying a delay I hadn't noticed. I backed away, slowly, put the phone down on the counter like it might shatter from attention. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from disorientation, like I'd stepped out of sync with myself. The voice kept speaking. My voice. I don't think the apartment is haunted. I think it's reflecting something back at me, but from an angle I can't see. I touched the wall beside me, dry, familiar, still slightly warm from the light fixture. But the air felt thinner now, like there were more people breathing than mouths accounted for. The voice kept narrating, "There's a corner of the hallway I never stand in. Not because it's dark, but because I'm sure I've seen myself standing there before." I turned, looked at the hallway. The left side, the one by the coat hooks, was dimmer than usual. Not pitch black, just dimmer, like the light was bending slightly to avoid it. The voice paused, then said, "Right now, I'm standing in the kitchen. Right now, I'm looking toward that spot." I couldn't move, because that was what I was doing. Exactly. The voice chuckled. I wonder how long I'll pretend I'm still choosing what to do next. My knees felt hollow. I had the sensation that if I lifted my foot, the floor might not be there. So I didn't move. Not right away. I turned the phone screen off without touching the playback. Just let it speak in the dark. It didn't stop. Didn't pause. Just kept going. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the recording, if the real me said all this already, and I'm just the memory playing catch-up. I leaned over the sink, turned the tap on, splash of cold water. Reflex, not reason. And then, another line, still in my voice. If I say this part right now, I'll hear myself lean over the sink. I turned the water off. My hands were still under the stream, but the sound had stopped. I looked. The water was still running, visibly moving, but silent. No splash, no hiss, just motion without sound. Then, did the water stop? Or just the part that's allowed to be noticed? I dropped the glass in the basin. No clink, no sound, just weight and silence. I left the kitchen, slow, walked down the hallway, deliberately avoided the corner. But my eyes flicked there, once, not fast enough. Something stood there, not a shadow, not a figure, just me, too still. No blink, no breath. Wearing what I wore yesterday, but I hadn't worn that shirt since Tuesday, and it had wine on the hem. I looked down. Tonight's shirt was clean. I turned back, fast, nothing there. The hallway was just hallway again. Coats, a spare pair of shoes, the buzz of the fridge returning like a belated apology. I walked back to the living room. The phone had stopped speaking. I picked it up. Playback paused. Timestamp 1938. Episode length 1938. Perfect loop. But I hadn't heard it end. No final line. No fade. Just stopped. I Scrolled the library. Nothing new, no saved episodes. The file was gone. But in my downloads, there was something else. An audio memo, not from the podcast app, from the system recorder. File name, background 3 awaiting. I opened it, my voice again. Only this time, quieter. Hoarse. Whispering. I couldn't make out the words at first. I turned up the volume. It said, "Don't stop listening. Not because you want to, because you already did." A pause. Then, tomorrow. It's not your voice anymore. And when it speaks in hers, you'll remember why you stopped. The message played back in my head for hours. And when it speaks in hers, you'll remember why you stopped. I hadn't heard her voice yet, whoever she was. But I started avoiding the app entirely. Didn't delete it, just never opened it again. For 2 days, it stayed quiet. No new uploads, no whispers in my voice, no wine spills, no door latches. Even the hallway corner felt dull again. Just a corner. Nothing stared back. I thought maybe the loop was broken. Maybe I had passed some test by resisting. Until Sunday night. I left my phone charging in the living room and stepped into the shower. Steam curled up around me, soft and forgettable. A moment of calm. Then, faintly, under the sound of the water, a chime. Not the phone's default tone, something older. A soft, ascending triple tone, like a notification from a different decade. I froze. Towel still wrapped around my head. I stepped out, dripping, and walked to the bathroom mirror. It had fogged as usual, but there was something written in the mist. Not with a finger, more like something had exhaled it into shape. 3 words, "Keep listening." I wiped it away. It reappeared. Same message, same shape. And beneath it, something fainter. As if another layer had been written underneath and only now bled through. This one said, "You missed something." I ran to the phone. It was on the lock screen. No alerts, no app activity. But my earbuds had connected, automatically, even though they were in the drawer. I checked the playback history. No trace. But the battery was lower than it should have been, as if it had been playing something for hours. I opened the app. It hadn't launched, not according to the recent apps. Still, when I tapped into it, a new episode was there. Gray thumbnail, no title, uploaded 2:03 a.m. The current time was 1:42. I stared at the timestamp, closed the app, locked the screen, didn't press play, didn't touch anything. I just watched. And 30 seconds later, it began on its own. Earbuds still in the drawer, phone untouched. But I could hear it, not from the speaker, not from the room, from behind the mirror, muffled, distorted, as if someone was playing it in there. And this time, the voice wasn't mine. It was a woman, young, close in tone to me, but not quite. A version of something I could have been. She whispered. I didn't open the door either, but someone thought I did. My throat tightened. I took one slow step back. She continued. My reflection started coming late. At first by seconds, then by days. I looked into the mirror. It was clear now, too clear. I could see myself perfectly. But when I blinked, it didn't. It stared, eyes dry, smile wrong. No steam, no fog on the glass, just her. Not wearing what I was wearing. Hair parted differently, lips slightly parted like she was about to speak. Then, she did. But the sound came from the phone, not the glass. She said, "You were the last one to try stopping this." I reached forward, tapped the mirror. The reflection responded, not with mimicry. It leaned against my movement, chin tilting toward me like it had just heard a secret. I turned the phone face down. It didn't matter. Her voice still came. I know where you keep your old notebooks. I blinked once because I had notebooks buried in a shoebox under the bed. But I hadn't opened them in years. She said, the third page, blue ink, the line you crossed out 5 times. Read it out loud. I didn't want to, didn't remember what I'd written, but my legs moved anyway. I found the box, opened the book, third page, blue ink, a single sentence scratched over and over. If I hear her voice again, it means I failed. I dropped the notebook. The phone buzzed, screen still dark, no alert. Just a vibration, long, steady, like a held breath. I flipped it over. The app was gone, completely. Not just hidden, not archived, uninstalled, except the episode was still playing. She was still talking. I'm not the voice that scares you. I'm the memory that survived you. I wanted to scream, but even my breath felt staged, pre-recorded, like I was just mouthing it, seconds behind. She whispered again, this time closer, inside my ear without being near me. Tomorrow, you speak in mine. The mirror fogged again, but not with words, with my silhouette, leaning forward, too fast, too close, smiling like it had waited, and in its hand, not mine, the phone screen blinked to life, already recording. The reflection didn't blink. The phone in its hand pulsed with red, recording. But my fingers were empty. No light in my palm. Only the reflection captured anything. I turned away. Didn't check the mirror again. Didn't want to know what happened next. But from that moment forward, my memory stopped feeling like mine. I began noticing things out of place, not just physically, but chronologically. A half-eaten apple on the windowsill, still cold, freshly bitten. I hate apples. A voicemail on my phone from a number I never called. I listened. It was me, my voice, rambling something about keys. Not a voicemail I left. One I apparently received from myself. I checked the grocery bags one morning, 3 of them, sealed tight, waiting by the door. Inside, a carton of almond milk. I drink oat. A bouquet of wilted white lilies. I'm allergic. And a receipt for items I didn't remember buying, but my card had been used. At night, I started waking up with marks, little bruises on the inside of my elbow, once on my rib cage, faint, not painful, but placed with surgical precision, like someone was mapping me out for later. The podcast hadn't uploaded in 2 days. I checked, even though I didn't want to. Then on the 3rd night, a new episode, no name, just a timestamp, 4:44 a.m. But it was only 2:12. I tapped it. Playback began halfway through, my voice again, but it felt drowsy, like I'd recorded it mid-dream. I dropped the glass, it said, the one I hadn't used yet. I looked across the room. A clean glass stood on the table. My voice continued. I'll clean it up in the morning. Or maybe I already did. I closed the app, left the glass alone. But in the morning, it was shattered, not just broken, absent. No shards, no sound, just the imprint of its circular dust ring, perfectly intact on the wood. That day, I found a Polaroid in the kitchen drawer, one I didn't take. It was of me, sleeping, shot from above, as if someone stood over my bed. I live alone. My door was locked. In the photo, my face looked slightly off. The smile was wrong. I don't smile in my sleep. At least, I don't think I do. I flipped the photo over. In ink, the words, "You're halfway caught up." Caught up to what? To when? That night, I dreamed of walking backward through my apartment. Not like rewinding, more like I was retracing steps I hadn't taken yet. In the dream, I passed myself, my future self. She looked exhausted, clothes torn, eyes gone, just open lids and nothing behind. She didn't speak, just handed me a piece of paper. I couldn't read it. The ink rearranged itself every time I blinked. But when I woke up, my pillow had a smudge of writing on it, not a note. Imprinted, like I'd slept on the memory of a message. The words were backwards. I stood in front of the mirror to read them. Stop saying what hasn't happened. The reflection blinked first. I backed away, checked my phone, no notifications, no new episodes, until I opened the camera roll. There were 12 photos from last night. I was in all of them. Some in the kitchen, some in the hallway. The 12th was in the bathroom. I was brushing my teeth. But in the mirror, I was holding a knife. I hadn't brushed my teeth last night. I looked in the trash. The toothpaste cap was off, brush still damp. I lifted my shirt, a new bruise, right over my stomach. It looked like a thumbprint. That evening, the episode resumed playing. Without opening the app, without pressing anything, just my voice saying, "I lied when I said I stopped listening. I never stopped. I just moved further down the line. I turned off the phone, put it in the microwave, didn't turn it on, just locked it inside." 10 minutes later, the Bluetooth connected to my speaker. And from the speaker came a voice that wasn't mine, wasn't hers, something in between, layered, like 3 tracks playing at once, each slightly out of sync. It whispered, "You're almost current now." I tried not to respond, tried not to think, because thinking felt like writing, and everything I thought became spoken. Later, I checked my journal. Every page had new entries, dates filled in, future ones. One of them said, "Tomorrow. You remember doing this, even if you never did." The doorbell rang once. I didn't answer, didn't move. But when I checked the peephole, there was me, holding headphones, smiling, mouthing something, then gone. No footsteps, no creak, just a voicemail left on my phone from my number. It played automatically, and it wasn't audio. It was breath, mine, but delayed by exactly 5 seconds. It played automatically, and it wasn't audio. It was breath, mine, but delayed by exactly 5 seconds. I tested it, held my phone flat on the table, watched it like I expected it to twitch, then inhaled, counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there it was, that soft rasp, familiar in the way your own voice sounds unfamiliar when recorded, like it belonged to me, but not now, not in the same moment I lived in. I started transcribing the episodes after that, not to prove anything, just to keep up. Every time a new one uploaded, I wrote it all down by hand, paused after every line, listened carefully, and at first, the words held. They stayed where I left them. Then, sometime after the 4th page, I noticed something strange. A line I remembered writing was gone, not crossed out, not ripped, missing, as if it had never been there. I flipped back through the notebook. Earlier pages now contained lines I hadn't heard yet. Don't forget the sound of her blink. Your hands are doing this, even if your mind isn't. I didn't write those. I don't think I did. Then the podcast started responding to the text. I'd write something, and the voice would pause in playback, then respond, out loud. "I didn't say that yet," it whispered once. "You're getting ahead again. I stopped writing for 2 days, didn't play anything, didn't look at the notebook. But when I returned, it had filled 5 more pages on its own. Same handwriting, same pen pressure. Even the way I write my lowercase r, too sharp, like a blade. But the words weren't mine, not even close. They were instructions. One said, stand in front of the mirror and wait for your reflection to forget. Another, when the hallway light flickers, count 3 steps back, no more. And one, underlined twice. You were never the listener. That line burned in my chest. I read it again, felt my scalp tighten, like someone had written it not for me, but about me. I opened the latest episode, didn't even hesitate this time, just pressed play. The voice wasn't mine, wasn't hers, wasn't anyone's. It was the sound of language without tone, like something mimicking human rhythm, a beat too precise, breaths too evenly spaced. It said, you transcribe what you hear, but you hear what's already written. I paused the playback, opened the transcript I'd written the day before. Line by line, it now matched perfectly. Not just the words, the phrasing, the punctuation, even the timing. I hadn't heard those lines yesterday, but somehow they were already in the notebook. I flipped to the back. Last page. One sentence, written with a steady hand. Keep pretending it's yours. It helps the recording breathe. I slammed the notebook shut, walked into the kitchen, opened a drawer, then forgot what I came for. My body moved on its own. My hands grabbed a spoon. I didn't need one. The fridge door opened. I hadn't touched it. Inside, a bowl of something I didn't remember making, creamy, red, smelled faintly like cinnamon and iron. A sticky note sat beside it. Finish it before you write. I backed away, closed the fridge, went back to the notebook. On the cover, something new had been scratched into the cardboard with pressure. Not ink, playback file, you. That night, I watched myself sleep again, from the edge of the bed, because the mirror beside the dresser, the one I'd angled away months ago, was now turned directly toward me. And in it, I wasn't sleeping. I was writing, notebook in lap, head tilted, mouth slightly open, like I was whispering each word as I wrote. But my hands stayed still on the blanket, outside the reflection. In the morning, my throat was sore, like I'd been speaking all night. And in the notebook, 10 new pages, every line, word for word from the episode I hadn't played yet. I checked the app. The episode had uploaded 2 minutes ago. Total runtime, 12 minutes and 2 seconds. I scrolled, no play button, just a text banner that read, "You're doing so well. Keep going." I closed the app, opened my voice memo folder, new recording, no title. I tapped it. It began with static. Then, the sound of a pen scratching paper, my breath. Then softly, "Don't look up." I didn't. Not right away. Then the second line, "Now." I looked. The hallway mirror reflected something I hadn't seen before. A desk, in a room I don't own. Me, or something very close to me, seated at it. Wearing headphones, smiling, mouthing the next words before I heard them. In perfect sync, like a script, like a loop, like memory falling forward through itself. And written across the mirror, not fogged, not scratched, typeset, like from a teleprompter. You were never listening. You've been practicing. And somewhere behind me, a mechanical voice whispered, Begin the next episode from the top. Begin the next episode from the top. The voice came from behind me, but I didn't turn. I just sat there, spine stiff, eyes fixed on the mirror. The reflection wasn't mine anymore. It watched me, waiting, like I was late to something I didn't agree to attend. I don't remember standing, but when I blinked, I was already in front of the computer, podcast app open, new layout. The screen looked older, grainy, washed in a yellowish tint, like it had been pulled from some dusty drawer inside a CRT monitor. At the bottom, a tab I'd never seen before, the archive. No click sound when I tapped it, just a soft shift, like a curtain being drawn back. The list stretched endlessly, episodes I'd never seen, all with dates, all decades old, some from before I was born, others labeled with impossible timestamps, like 12 a.m./12 a.m./12 a.m. I scrolled. Names began to appear. Not titles, names. Not mine, not yet. But people I remembered in pieces. A teacher I had in second grade. A woman who used to live in the apartment below mine. A cousin who died before I was old enough to know what funerals meant. Their names tied to episodes. Some marked with durations. Some marked with nothing. One episode title, near the middle, stopped my scrolling, June 18th, 1988. Name redacted. Last full recording. No play button, just a faded triangle, like a watermark. When I tapped it, the screen flickered, then static. Then, my name, clear, spoken in a woman's voice. I hadn't been born in 1988, not even conceived, but she said it. Perfect pronunciation. Then described something else. My laugh. That short, breathless exhale I do when I'm uncomfortable. She mimicked it, and I froze, because it wasn't mimicry. It was a recording. Mine. From a voicemail I left someone a year ago. Private, deleted. Then she said, she's 7 now. Fell against the side of the garden bricks chasing the dog. The scar won't fully heal. My chin tingled. I reached up and touched it. The scar's still faint, but it's there. A thin line I stopped thinking about years ago. I paused the playback, or tried, but the screen ignored me. She kept talking. She doesn't make it to the last episode. My mouth dried. I tapped out, closed the app. Nothing happened. The voice kept playing. Not from the phone, from somewhere inside the room. The air thickened, like someone had pressed pause on all sound except her voice. Then came a sound like tape reversing, and suddenly I was hearing another episode. Much older. Different voice. Male. He said, she's getting close. The archive always blinks open for the ones who start listening too well. I checked the window, still shut. Curtains unmoved, but my reflection wasn't. It paced across the mirror, back and forth, reading something I couldn't see. Lips moving, hands gesturing, like it was narrating me. I backed away from the phone, unplugged the router, turned off the power, everything. But the episode continued, and then the mirror spoke. Not a voice from behind, not from inside my head. The glass itself formed words, tiny fractures, like hairline cracks, arranging themselves in letters. You're not hearing the past. You're catching up to it. I whispered to myself, trying to ground my thoughts. I'm real. This is real. But the notebook, the one I thought I had hidden, lay open on the couch. Page flipped, new line written in pen I hadn't touched. You were written into this, not born into it. The lights flickered. The phone lit up. New episode queued. No title, no time. Just a soft, pulsing line of text. If you don't listen, she will. I didn't know who she was, but in the hallway, the bulb above the entrance dimmed again. In that corner, the one I avoid, held something. A shape. Not watching. Just waiting. I checked the screen again. Another episode had loaded. This one dated March 5th, 2029, 4 years from now. It was titled, Redacted, Final Attempt Before Displacement. And beneath it, a short description. She's still resisting the merge. I closed the phone gently, didn't press anything, didn't say anything. I just sat in the dark for a while, listening to nothing. Then, from my speaker, not my phone, a single sentence played, this time in my voice, but younger, high-pitched, 7, maybe 8 years old. She's still here, she just hasn't been recorded yet. And in the silence that followed, the notebook turned its own page to a blank sheet labeled only Episode 8, Pending. The notebook turned its own page to a blank sheet labeled only Episode 8, Pending. No lines, no ink, just a pale watermark, like the words were waiting for permission to appear. I didn't touch it, but something inside me knew. It would be filled, whether I helped or not. That night, I stopped using the app, deleted it, cleared the cache, disabled auto downloads. But when I checked my file manager, a new folder had appeared. No name, just a string of underscores and one small dot. Inside, a single file, WAV format, no metadata. The timestamp read 7 days from now, 3:12 a.m. I didn't want to open it, but I did. Not out of curiosity, out of something quieter, something more resigned. The playback was distorted, no waveform visible, just a deadline. Then, my voice, crying, not weeping, not dramatic, just soft, exhausted sobs, the kind you let out when no one's left to hear. Then I whispered, please, over and over, each one quieter, each one more like a child than an adult. Then, a shift. The sobs stopped abruptly. No sniff, no breath, just off. And in their place, a wet sound, like something thick being dragged slowly across tile. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. I know my kitchen. I know that sound. Then a subtle clink, glass maybe, something bumped, then rolled, and finally, that chime, the one my fridge makes when left open too long, that soft, high-pitched ping, 3 notes, faintly apologetic, then silence, no ending, no stop, just the void where the file should have concluded. I sat there frozen, eyes on the screen, hands in my lap. The timestamp hadn't moved. Playback stuck at 0, 0, 0, 0. I'd heard it, but according to the device, I hadn't played anything at all. Later that night, I checked the fridge. It was closed, but the light inside flickered once. Not like a bulb dying, more like it had just blinked, acknowledged me. The next morning, I found something new in the notebook. 1 line, ink still damp. Skipping ahead marks you for edit. That word hit different. Edit. Not erase, not delete, edit. Like something was coming back to change me, not replace, just rearrange. I tried to go outside, grab air, feel sunlight, prove that the world was still mine. But the moment I stepped onto the porch, I heard it, the same fridge chime, from somewhere behind me. I turned, but I wasn't inside anymore. I was back in the hallway, 3 steps from the bedroom, exactly where I'd been the night before. Clothes changed, shoes gone, no keys. I checked the time. Still 3:12 a.m. The future timestamp, looped back. I ran to the mirror, held up my hand. The reflection was slower this time, half a second behind. But something else was different. My mouth wasn't moving. Its was. It mouthed something silently, just 3 words. I leaned in, watched carefully. It rewrote you. I backed away, tripped, hit the edge of the bed. When I sat up, the phone was in my lap, unlocked, playing. Episode 8, even though I hadn't downloaded it, even though I had deleted everything. It was filled in now, titled Episode 8. I skipped ahead. I paused it, didn't press play, didn't breathe. The transcript was already written below, line by line, first line. I found a file I shouldn't have opened. Second, I heard myself crying. Third, then the dragging started. I flipped open the notebook, same lines, already printed in my handwriting. But they weren't ink anymore. They were embossed, pressed into the page like someone had carved them in from behind. I closed the book, put it in the freezer, locked it behind bags of frozen vegetables. Felt stupid doing it, but it helped for an hour. Then my fridge started chiming again, constantly, every 3 minutes, even when it was shut, even when the power was out, even when I unplugged it. 3 notes, always 3, like a countdown in reverse. Then the phone lit up. No app this time, just the keyboard, typing on its own. Did you think skipping ahead meant you were safe from the ending? Then the cursor blinked, paused, and added, "There's only 1 episode left. You haven't leaked." I stared, didn't touch it, but the letters kept writing. You know which one. And in the reflection of the screen, me, but eyes gone, just smooth skin where sockets should have been, and something behind me, tall, still, faint outline, not moving. It reached toward me without touching, and the keyboard typed 1 final line: "Play the final episode, or she will. Play the final episode, or she will." The words on the screen didn't fade. They didn't blink. They just waited. Like her, whoever, whatever she was. The shape that had stood behind me, silent and half-formed. Not a presence, a placeholder, like a character waiting to be rendered. I didn't press play. I powered the phone off, wrapped it in a dish towel, buried it in a drawer I hadn't opened in years. I told myself I'd sleep, just for an hour. I needed a reset, a line between the days. But when I turned toward the bedroom, she was already there, sitting on the edge of the bed, looking down at the floor as if listening to something faint. The light from the hallway barely touched her, but I saw enough. Same shape, same posture, same hands, curled inward at the knuckles like mine do when I sleep. She didn't look up. I didn't move. Then I heard it, barely audible, static, the podcast, playing, but not from a device, not from the phone in the drawer, from her. Her mouth moved, not speaking, just forming words silently. The audio came from somewhere else, somewhere deeper, not a speaker, an origin. I stepped back into the hallway, breathed slow, turned to the mirror. My reflection was there, lagging, 2, maybe 3 seconds behind. I waved. It waved late, but when my hand lowered, hers didn't. She held the wave, held it long. Then she mouthed something, a sentence, 4 words. I leaned in. She said, "You're already too late." Then I blinked, and she was gone. Not out of the mirror, out of the hallway, gone like she'd never stood there, gone like a dream too fragile to survive waking. But in the bedroom, she still sat, still listening. The air felt wrong, like the room had been built around her, not the other way around. I reached for the door frame, felt the grain of the wood shift, not temperature, not texture, order. like the frame had just been rearranged and hadn't settled yet. She looked up. Just once. Eyes like glass. Not reflective. Transparent. I could see the hallway through them. Then she mouthed another phrase. Too slow this time. I couldn't read it. The static grew louder. I stepped into the room. She was gone. But the bed was warm, like someone had just left. I pulled back the blanket. A phone rested beneath it. Not mine. It was older, black and white screen, cracked casing, no model I recognized. On the display, one file. Episode 9, Reverse Echo. I pressed nothing. It played on its own. No voice. Just breathing. Then me, slightly younger, slightly unsure. I didn't know when it started, I said, but I remember the moment I realized it wasn't my mouth moving. A pause. Then her voice, low, unsettled, not echoing, leading. I only lagged behind to give you time to panic. She laughed. Not loudly, not playfully, just softly, like she was amused by the futility of fear. I held the phone close. The audio shifted, metal scraping, pages turning, the notebook again. I ran to the drawer, pulled it out. The cover was open. It now read, Episode 10. Already spoken, but I hadn't lived it, hadn't even reached the end of this one. I flipped to the last page. It was blank, until it wasn't. The words emerged slowly, like ink, bleeding up from beneath the paper. Check the bed. I did. Under the mattress, a mirror. Not a handheld one, full length, laid flat, face up, positioned exactly where someone would lie down. I stared. My face stared back, except it didn't blink. It mouthed the next line before I thought it. You're remembering the wrong direction. Then the episode crackled. A final sound, the same breath, delayed, 5 seconds, just like before, but reversed, played backward. Then, nothing. No closing music, no outro, just static, until her voice returned. She's inside now. I dropped the phone, looked back at the mirror. My reflection was gone, not blacked out, not shattered, just absent. A bed, empty. No one lying there, no one left to reflect. I touched the glass. It was warm and pulsing, like it was listening. Then, very faintly, the mirror exhaled, and from inside it, my voice whispered, She's not watching anymore. She's remembering forward. The mirror exhaled, and from inside it, my voice whispered, She's not watching anymore. She's remembering forward. That should have been the end. But there was still one thing I hadn't done, one truth I hadn't tested. So I asked. Not the mirror, not the notebook. People. I posted on a forum, used a throwaway account, typed it like a question I barely believed. Has anyone heard of a podcast that has no name, no host? Just breath and memory? I didn't expect replies. I got dozens. Some vague, some jokey, some terrifyingly specific. One said, I only hear it when I'm about to fall asleep. Always a new episode. Always narrated by someone I know, but they don't know I'm listening. Another wrote, It says things I haven't told anyone. Lines from my journal, my baby's name, my dream last Tuesday. But one reply stopped me cold. A user with no profile picture. Joined that day. No posting history. Stop uploading, you're scaring people. I stared at it for a long time. I replied, I haven't uploaded anything. The response came instantly. Then who's speaking in your voice? I backed away from the screen, tried to rationalize. Maybe someone was messing with me. Maybe this had gone viral without me knowing. But that didn't explain what happened next. People started recognizing me. At the store, on the street, online. A woman in the checkout line smiled and said, "You're the one who tells the stories, right?" I asked what stories. She frowned, tilted her head. "The ones about forgetting, about mirrors. You've got such a calm voice. My son listens to you at night." I laughed it off, tried to walk away, but her son, maybe 6 years old, he looked up from the shopping cart, stared directly at me, and whispered, "Why don't you blink when you sleep?" I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I opened a new browser, searched my name, nothing obvious. But then, a link on a forum I didn't recognize. A thread titled, "Has anyone else heard the girl with no reflection?" First post included a photo. Me, standing in my hallway, captured from outside the window. But I don't have windows facing that direction. The timestamp said it was taken last week. The outfit matched. The comments underneath. She narrates like she's trapped in the recording. I dreamed about her last night. She told me to stop breathing. Every time I pause her episode, my lights flicker. I logged out, shut the laptop, unplugged everything, but my speakers clicked back on. Faint static, then a child's voice. "She doesn't know she's doing it," I shouted. Doing what? No answer. Just a recording playing back my own voice, saying, "She doesn't know she's doing it." I checked my podcast apps. Nothing. I checked the mic permissions on every device. All off. All clean. But the episodes were real. People were listening. Some even quoted me. One emailed a transcript, lines I never said. But I recognized the rhythm. It felt like mine. And buried halfway through, a new phrase. Everyone's heard it but her. The email had no sender, no subject. Just that line, over and over in the body. Everyone's heard it but her. Everyone's heard it but her. Everyone's heard it but her. I tried to stop it, change passwords, factory reset everything. The next day, a new email. From myself, voice recording attached. I listened. I was whispering, narrating. But not my story, someone else's. A man waking up in a hotel room with no memory. A woman running from a house that never stops changing shape. A child hiding inside a closet that smells like salt water. And at the end of each story, I said, "I remember this because I lived it last." My voice, speaking as them, their stories, through my mouth. But I hadn't recorded anything. I hadn't written a word. Still, the final line returned in every episode. She doesn't make it to the last one. I tried to trace the origin, domain logs, IP addresses, nothing tracked. But each trail ended in the same place. An audio host created 23 days before I was born. No owner, no support email. Just one static homepage with a blinking player. At the top, it read, "She's been uploading since the moment she arrived." I didn't click play, I couldn't. But it auto-played anyway. My first word as a child, recorded. Then my voice at 7, screaming, laughing, crying. Then present-day me, tired, soft, saying things I didn't know I'd ever said. She's behind glass again. I keep remembering things I haven't done yet. This isn't a podcast. It's a transcript of erosion. I unplugged the computer. The audio didn't stop. I turned on the faucet, tried to drown it out. Didn't help. Because it wasn't coming from the computer anymore. It was coming from the walls, from the fabric of the house, from everything I've ever touched. Even the notebook, now sealed shut, pages fused, but on the back cover, a sticker, bright white, like a library label. Final episode pending. In handwritten beneath it, "You're not the voice. You're the medium." And just before the light bulb popped above me, the faucet whispered, stop listening, or start speaking again. The faucet whispered, stop listening, or start speaking again. Then the bulb above me popped, sharp, clean, final. Darkness filled the kitchen, but not silence. Every device in the apartment began to blink. Not just screens, the thermostat, the microwave clock, the cordless phone I haven't used in years. Even the smoke detector gave a tiny red pulse every 3 seconds, like it was syncing with something. They weren't errors, they were reminders. The episode had appeared. The last one, no title, no runtime, just the word, finale. No one uploaded it. There was no account tied to it. But every app I opened, every browser tab, every smart display, they all pointed to the same screen. Now, playing, she listens anyway. I didn't press play, I just let it begin. No music, no fade in, no narrator's breath, just a voice, mine. But not how I sound now. Not adult, not tired, younger, crisper. Like a version of me from a moment I never lived. She said, I always thought it would end with a scream, but it doesn't. It ends with a door not opening. I stood still. There were no knocks, no sudden noises, just the voice, calm, practiced. She continued, you weren't supposed to remember this far. You were supposed to blur at the midpoint, but something stayed, something leaked. The lights flickered. Then the fridge door opened, on its own. Inside, only one thing sat on the shelf, a mirror. Not cold, not dusty, just clean, waiting. I didn't move, didn't breathe too hard. The voice went on. We tried to erase it from you gently. Each episode was a soft scouring, but you clung to the story, and now it's clinging back. I stepped toward the fridge, slow, one foot after the other, like walking on floorboards that might scream. I reached inside, touched the mirror. It was warm. Then, it blinked. Not me. It blinked once, then opened like a screen door. The back of the fridge no longer existed, only darkness. And in that blackness, me, sitting in a chair, headphones on, mouth slightly open, eyes wide but empty, narrating. I couldn't hear the words, but I felt them. I knew what was being said before the lips moved. Lines from Chapter 1, Chapter 3, Chapter 9, all folding backward into themselves. I wasn't watching a playback. I was watching a recording. The finale episode, being made, now right now. I stepped back, closed the fridge, pressed my back against the counter. The voice returned. You kept asking who was uploading, but you never wondered where it was being recorded. I turned off every light, unplugged the modem, removed the batteries from my smoke detector, but the red blinks kept going, like heartbeat monitors. Every few seconds, another pulse. Then the bathroom mirror fogged over. I hadn't used the water. I walked toward it, slowly. The message etched into the mist. Say goodbye this time. All the way through. I blinked. The mirror cleared, behind the reflection. Another version of the room, darker, colder, empty. Except for her, the other me, sitting on the floor, legs crossed, notebook open, scribbling lines into a page that looked like skin. She looked up, smiled, mouth moved, no sound. But I could read her lips. You're the last narrator. The episode reached 99%. I hadn't touched a thing. Didn't even know what device it was playing from. It just was. She, the version in the mirror, raised her hand, held up a page. On it, handwritten in charcoal. She thinks she still has a choice. Then came the final line. Still my voice, still calm. She listens anyway. The screen faded, but something kept going. A new recording. I heard the click. Something saved. Something started over. my voice again, but this time not saying a story, just breathing, just waiting. Then a knock. Not on the door, not on the window, inside the wall, behind the mirror, under the floorboards, through the drain, like the house had just been told it was next. The silence stretched, and in that silence, my reflection finally spoke first, not mimicking, not following, speaking. She leaned closer to the glass, tilted her head in the exact way I was afraid I would, and whispered, "Now it's your turn to upload." And before I could stop her, she reached through the glass, pressed record, and said my name